What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I'd like to give you guys my thoughts for the Atlanta Falcons' first padded practice at training camp. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content or NFL content. If you'd like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. And if you'd like to be a part of my Jew Talk Sports membership, you can hit that join tab here on the channel as well. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So as I mentioned in today's video, I do want to give my thoughts on the Falcons' first padded practice at training camp today. And first off, I want to talk about Michael Penix Jr. It looks like he's starting to develop that chemistry with the guys on the offensive side of the ball, guys like Drake London, guys like Bijan Robinson. I seen him make some nice throws from the highlights and things of that nature that I seen today from training camp. He was able to hit Bijan Robinson for a touchdown during training camp when he was lined up against J.D. Bertrand, the linebacker, inside linebacker for our Atlanta Falcons. He beat him on a wheel route. Also today at practice, Drake London made a couple nice catches down the field as well. So I really feel like Michael Penix Jr. is starting to get comfortable in this offense. And from the reports that I've seen, we're going to see some very intriguing things out of this offense this season. One of the things that I've seen from the reporters and things of that nature is the Falcons were running some formations where they had Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier on the field at the same time. And I definitely think that that could be lethal for this Atlanta Falcons team because it keeps the opposing defensive coordinators and defensive players off balance when you have both Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier in the game, because both of those guys are capable running backs. So I definitely think that that's going to be very interesting. As I mentioned earlier during the offseason, I really feel like this Atlanta Falcons team is going to be able to stretch the field and push the ball down the field because they brought in Michael Penix Jr., who has a cannon. And we know last year, Kirk Cousins wasn't able to stretch the field as much because his arm, is diminishing and things of that nature. He doesn't have a super strong arm at this point in his career. But I definitely think that the playbook is going to be wide open with a guy like Michael Penix Jr. At the helm. On the defensive side of the ball today at training camp, they've been raving about James Pierce Jr., the star edge rusher out of Tennessee that we brought in. Raheem Morris has mentioned that James Pierce Jr. has brought that edge to the Atlanta Falcons team. He is one of those guys that's an edgy player, a guy that loves to compete, a guy that has gotten into a few scuffles. No scuffles today during training camp, during the padded practices, but we know 2 days ago there was a fight, a couple scuffles and things of that nature. But James Pierce Jr. is one of those type of players, as I mentioned in my previous video, that you want to have on your team. I really feel like the Falcons have lacked a little bit of toughness over the last couple years, lacked, those type of players that will compete and push it to the limits on every single play. But one thing that I like that I heard today, just listening to the players press conferences after training camp practice, they interviewed Leonard Floyd, and Leonard Floyd talked about he's kind of a mentor to James Pierce Jr. He talked about him taking on a leadership role as far as being a coach on the field. And one of the coaches did mention that Leonard Floyd, being that he's a veteran type player, he has taken on that role and kind of taken some of these younger players under his wing. But being that James Pierce Jr. is a similar body style and body frame to a guy like Leonard Floyd, I love to see, these guys competing out there and things of that nature. Leonard Floyd did talk about, supporting your teammates and having your teammates back even during the dust-ups and things of that nature. And I really feel like having a Leonard Floyd on this team was key for this Atlanta Falcons roster because we have a lot of young edge players. And I really feel like, Leonard Floyd is going to be one of those guys that's going to help James Pierce Jr. develop into a professional and develop out there on the field. He talked about helping him kind of work on his pass rush moves and things of that nature and how to finish at the top of his rush. When Leonard Floyd mentioned James Pierce Jr., he is that James Pierce Jr. is a guy that he think thinks is going to be able to help this Falcons team. And Leonard Floyd also talked about earlier in his career, he had guys like Khalil Mack when he was drafted by the Bears. That was a big dog, and that kind of took him under his wing. And he had good veterans, and that he's kind of trying to pass that torch, or kind of do similar things, for this Atlanta Falcons team that was done for him, as far as being one of those veteran guys that can help these younger players continue to develop. They also talked to Kaden Ellis, the inside linebacker, and he mentioned basically doing a lot of different things for this Atlanta Falcons team. But Kaden Ellis did mention that he's been very impressed with his running mate, Devon Diablo, at that inside linebacker position, which is not surprising. I did do a live video about a month ago where I talked about Devon Diablo being one of those guys I think could be an X factor for this Atlanta Falcons team because of his versatility, because of his ability to run sideline to sideline, him being an excellent athlete, him being a guy that's very good in coverage because he was a guy that played that safety position at Virginia Tech coming out of college. And Kaden Ellis had glowing remarks and things of that nature about Devon Diablo picking up the scheme. And he talked about him being a guy that can pretty much do it all, a guy that can shed and go make tackles in the run game and play out in space, but also a guy very good in coverage and things of that nature, what our Atlanta Falcons team has lacked over the last couple seasons. So I'm really impressed with what I'm hearing out of training camp. They did talk to also Matthew Bergeron, who's our guard on this team going into, I believe, his third year. And he basically talked about some of the dust-ups and things of that nature between him and James Pierce Jr. and some of the trash talk that has been going on between the offense and the defensive line and things of that nature. But he also talked about, it doesn't go into the locker room as far as they're competing hard against each other on the field, and iron sharpens iron and things of that nature, but they don't allow it to carry into the locker room. He talked about, loving those guys, loving his teammates and things of that nature. But he did talk about we have to have these tough practices against each other because he knows game one going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's going to be a very tough game. We know the division games are usually the hardest games to play, being that you're both very familiar with each other. And we know that we did beat Tampa twice last year. And Matthew Bergeron talked about, them, game one being a very tough game because it's going to be a division rival, at home against Tampa. He talked about, them iron sharpening iron as far as the defensive line and the offensive line competing against each other, but not allowing it to go too far as going into the locker room and things of that nature. So I'm loving what I'm hearing, like I stated, out of training camp and things of that nature. I really feel like this Atlanta Falcons team could be special. I really feel like they have a lot of talent on this team. As I mentioned, and I'm going to continue to say it, it's going to be very tough to make this Atlanta Falcons roster because this is a very deep roster. But I really feel like there's going to be, opportunities for these young players to step up this season and make plays. But I do like that we have a number of veterans sprinkled in on this roster that can kind of help lead the rooms that they're in. And that's what it looks like these veteran players are doing, is embracing these young guys and trying to help those guys come in and be successful immediately from the jump. So with that being said, you guys give me your thoughts on this Atlanta Falcons first padded practice. You guys give me your thoughts so far on training camp. Like I said, I'm ecstatic from what I'm hearing. I really am excited to see the first preseason game, to see how some of these backup players push to possibly be on the roster or even push for a starting role on this team, because we know, especially in the secondary and in a lot of these positions, there's not going to be a guaranteed, position. There are still camp battles going on, especially at like the nickel position, as far as the cornerbacks, the inside linebacker position next to Kaden Ellis, the safety position next to Jesse Bates. It's going to be some very interesting matchups and things of that nature of guys competing for these starting roles heading into this 2025 NFL season. So with that being said, I have a lot more content coming for you guys. If you enjoy my content and you haven't already hit that subscribe button, definitely hit that subscribe button for your boy. Hit that like button. But I do appreciate each and every one of you guys. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up, be blessed. Peace.